there anyone thinking about saving a few dollars and traveling Greyhound? Well, maybe you should. Greyhound has recently announced that it is taking a company-wide stance against the ongoing harassment and unfair profiling of its passengers, and I think that should be rewarded. Here we go.
A massive car bomb exploded outside of a large federal building in downtown Oklahoma City.
It is my view.
You can see the black smoke billowing out of the side of the Pentagon. It continues to billow out and cover much of the skyline here along the area.
A Saudi security team killing Khashoggi inside the Saudi consulate in
Greyhound said Friday it would prohibit United States Customs and Border Protection agents without a warrant from boarding its buses to conduct immigration checks as bus companies continue to face pressure from civil rights advocates over this practice. This announcement by Greyhound comes after an Associated Press report said a January 28th Border Patrol memo contradicted Greyhound's stance that it had to allow the agents on its buses under federal law. Up until this point, the company has maintained it didn't agree with the checks but had no choice but to comply. So now making clear in that memo, when transportation checks occur on a bus at a non-checkpoint location, the agent must demonstrate that he or she gained access to the bus with the consent of the company's owner or one of the company's employees. So this should really bring to a halt agents climbing onto buses within 100 miles of the border, asking passengers about their immigration status. And some of these interactions have actually been captured on video, prompting outrage from immigration advocate groups. One comedian says while traveling, a border patrol forced him off a Greyhound bus and accused him of being illegal, despite his legal documents in hand. Some civil rights organizations argue the checks are discriminatory and that the passengers are routinely profiled. Now, one would have to assume that the high majority of passengers traveling with Greyhound would all be properly documented and free to travel at will. Now, for any Border Patrol agent that would take it upon his or herself to enter a Greyhound bus with the intentions of harassing passengers on said bus without any provocation or reasonable suspicion whatsoever, that is absolutely wrong. And I would go as far as to say, on the rare occasion that they actually catch an undocumented individual on this bus or in this fishing expedition, it still wouldn't be worth the inconvenience and discomfort you're putting all of the other passengers in. And not to mention, little by little, tarnishing the reputation and the overall brand of Greyhound. So Greyhound, I think this is a wonderful move on your part. Stand your ground, protect your passengers, and see to it that they get to their destinations without being harassed, without being dragged off a bus with no provocation. You are doing the right thing. So, Greyhound, we applaud you. Let us talk about this new Real ID compliance. New to me, maybe not new to you. However, by October 1st, everyone must be Real ID compliant in order to board an airplane, even for domestic flights in the United States. Now, if you're asking, what is Real ID compliant? This is a post-9/11 regulation that Homeland Security started to roll out some years ago and have been easing us into the updated status on our driver's license or our identifications. And by October 1st of this year, every licensee who intends to fly will have to have their status as Real ID compliant. So let's break that down. Some 2/3 of U.S. state driver's licenses are not compliant with a post-9/11 security law set to go into effect on October 1st. Those who are not compliant will not be able to fly if they don't have other forms of Real ID compliant identification. So Real ID compliant is a status. Understand that. Real ID compliant is a status of your current driver's license. So the head of Homeland Security says this: ensuring every state is Real ID compliant by October is one of the department's top priorities, said Department of Homeland Security Acting Secretary Chad Wolf. Progress has been made. The real work is still ahead because approximately 2/3 of all licensees are presently not compliant with Real ID. Wolf also says pre-submission of documents will result in a faster application process. It's not clear how much faster it will be. And by that, I assume he means if you received your actual driver's license before your state went into compliance, you will have to go back in and have your status changed to Real ID compliant. So you should probably be proactive, contact your local driver's license department, go in, submit any documentation ahead of time, just so they can have all of your information updated and make your individual process move a little bit smoother, a little bit faster. So starting October 1st, travelers must have a Real ID compliant status on their driver's license in order to fly. The only thing that you can provide is a U.S. passport or a military ID. Beyond that, you're not going to be flying with ease that particular day. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything where the airlines have the capability to notify you that you're not in compliance at the time that you book your ticket. So this could very well be a very inconvenient surprise on the day of travel for any would-be unsuspecting traveler. Now, how would one know if your identification or driver's license is Real ID compliant? You're going to be looking for a star in the upper hand right corner. I believe in most cases they're going to be yellow to gold. Is my state currently Real ID compliant? Suspecting this can change at any moment and any time, I would probably have you do a Google search on that very same question and find out for yourself. However, at the time of this recording, these are the only states that are Real ID compliant at this time. If you happen to live in one of the following states, these states are already Real ID compliant: Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, D.C., Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Maryland, Mississippi, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Dakota, Tennessee, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. Now, just because you happen to live in one of those states, don't think you're out of the woods and in the clear yet. The first thing you're going to want to do is look at your driver's license and see if you can locate the star in the upper right hand corner. If you can do that, your status is Real ID compliant. If you cannot, you will have to contact your local driver's license department. You will have to gather the necessary documents and you will have to update your status. I believe some states are allowing some of this documentation to be submitted electronically. Again, you'll have to contact your local driver's license department and see how that works out. For me personally, I reside in the state of Florida. So the first thing that I did was look at my driver's license. And I was able to locate the gold star sitting on the right-hand corner. However, looking back, I had to submit an irregular amount of paperwork in order to receive that gold star. Now, bear in mind, at the time, I had no idea why they were trying to collect that much information just for a driver's license renewal. I had been licensed in the state of Florida since 1985. Little did I know they were updating my status to get me Real ID compliant. You have to keep in mind that this compliance date is coming right before the holidays. So if you've got holiday travel in mind, if you've already got plans booked, or if you're a last-minute traveler, do make sure that you are in compliance. Because if you are not in compliance, you will not be able to board that plane. If you do not have the proper driver's license or passport, you will not be able to board that plane. And lastly, on this edition of Political Bloodshed, we have bees, and more bees. So apparently, the police and fire department of Pasadena were contacted in regards to a severe bee sting. Now, although bee stings are not entirely uncommon, some more severe than others, this one, however, was a little bit different because a single bee sting actually led to a swarm of more than 40,000 bees lying in wait. Okay, let's get in it. A swarm of some 40,000 bees attacked police responding to a single bee sting report. They were responding to a report of a single bee sting, but their problem was about to get a whole lot worse. A group of firefighters and police that were responding to a bee sting were attacked Thursday afternoon by some 40,000 bees, Africanized bees to be more specific. Now, I'm not exactly sure what an Africanized bee is, but I can say this for sure. Anytime you put eyes at the end of something, it sounds a little extra vicious. I should know. I've mallerized more people than I can count, and it's not always been pretty. Moving on, 3 of the first responders were rushed to the hospital, while the others quickly shut down the entire city block. Local Public Information Officer Lisa Dadarian says, "I've been with the fire department 18 years now and responded to several bee sting incidents, but nothing at the magnitude of this incident." So there you have it. If you see a bee or two in your vicinity, just try to remain calm, leave it alone, try to go on about your business in a calm fashion. And then if you feel there's going to be a problem, call an exterminator. Let them handle it. This has been another episode of Political Bloodshed with Mallory Williams. I always look forward to your feedback, your commentaries, and your suggestions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, and all the other stuff that social media consists of. So until next time, take care.